so I mean, there's not much enlightenment to give, honestly, because I think everyone's sort of figuring it out. We're at that stage of the industry where everyone's tinkering around, trying to grab as much knowledge as they can to figure out what this thing really is. But being in tech myself and being in that environment in college and just being involved recreationally, at least, I think it helped me get an idea of where the industry is at a little bit. I would say it's still at its nascent stages. It's just gaining mainstream momentum. The opportunities, of course, are huge, and rightly so. That's why so many students are attracted to maybe jobs in the field or just exploring it and keeping in touch with it. So Web 3.0 is an amazing opportunity for engineers to make sure that the important skill of keeping up to date with new things is kept in touch with. So any new technology that comes out throughout your career, you'll always have to adapt. You'll always have to sort of reskill, upskill. And I think Web 3.0 is showing a little bit of that, where all of us are sort of forced to dive into the world and understand what's going on a little bit and try to grasp some of these difficult concepts.
Fantastic. So how do you define Web 3.0 blockchain and crypto for a layman who's now sort of venturing into, I know it's so commonplace these days, these terms, but what are the applications you feel will be interesting in all these three areas?
Yeah, for sure. I think one exposure that everyone gets to Web 3.0 is cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum, just the usual stuff that people hear about. But what most of us have come to realize in the last couple of years is that the opportunities in Web 3.0, they sort of expand way beyond the currency utilization of these technologies, and they can have consequences and applications in multiple different industries. So Web 3.0, if I had to define it, is I'd like to define it with an example, I guess. Today we have YouTube, and there are creators on YouTube. These creators on YouTube pay a fee to YouTube to put their videos on YouTube, and YouTube takes a cut, gives it to them when I watch their videos. Now, a decentralized version of this would be where the creator gets the money directly from the viewer, and you sort of cut out the middleman. So a lot of Web 3.0 is about eliminating middlemen, whether it be in the financial industry, any online service that's offered today. And that sort of introduces a lot of efficiencies and a lot of cost cutting in these industries. So the applications can apply anywhere. It allows you to not have a central governing entity controlling the service that you're offering, while allowing the people who engage in the most productive manner with the community to benefit the most from it. So that's how I would describe sort of the potential of Web 3.0.
It's very important for our viewers, especially on LinkedIn, who are building out careers and understanding industries which are kind of mushrooming. New things that are happening in the fintech space seems to have caught the eye of so many students who are techies, product managers, and even project managers. So what's it been like for you, since you're interested in and you have worked at fintech companies? What is it that the future holds for you, and where do you see this industry going, and what kind of skill sets would be needed?
For sure. I think you described it perfectly when you said mushrooming. That's the phase that this industry is at. With the valuations being lofty right now and so much opportunity and funding and liquidity in the markets, you've seen the advent of so many fintech firms of late. I would say the last 4 or 5 years has been especially in your face, whether it be in the crypto space or neo-banking space or the larger players like Paytm, where I interned myself. So there's just a lot going on in fintech. And I think what all of this funding and all of these valuations allow the industry to do is sort of experiment with a variety of ideas. Some may not be so good, some may be really good. But when you try so many things, it's bound to create a few winners and create those highly successful companies that we've seen: Stripe, Square, Coinbase, Robinhood to some extent. But I think I see this industry maturing over the next few years, chipping away on some of the functions that are archaic at traditional banks. I think the youth and the millennials of the world want and will get more efficiency in their fintech lives, I guess. Whatever financial stuff they're doing in their lives needs to be easier, needs to be faster, needs to be better and cheaper. And I think that demand is being fulfilled by a lot of the companies that we're seeing.
Yeah. So my follow-up question to that would be, how do aspiring project managers, product managers keep abreast with what's going on? What are the skills they should sort of develop, and what are the things that they should be reading or following?
Yeah, for sure. I think this is something I'm personally figuring out as well. So I'm on that journey with everyone listening. And then it's an exciting one. But I think my personal piece of advice from whatever I've seen is that you need to keep up with what's going on, whether it just be reading about the companies, listening in on investor calls, looking at new product launches, looking at what works for some of these companies, what doesn't. If there are fintech apps that you use, which the chances are very high, look at the products that you're using, the products that are being offered, the features that you see, and you'll start spotting trends in these applications and features that are being offered. And once you spot these trends, you can sort of maybe find your own niche, and you start thinking along the right directions, whether it be ideas or technical requirements if you're a technical person, but just keeping in touch with and keeping up with the industry, new things coming around, because it's a very fast moving industry and you need to be on top of things to sort of be in the know.
Thanks. And one last question. How would you define product manager sort of roles? And I know you're also understanding what you could be doing in that space. Broadly speaking, what are the skills, again, needed to make a product launch happen, and kind of collaborations that you do with other team members?
Right. So for your first question, how I would define the product management role. So one thing that I've understood is that there's a wide variety of different product manager roles. Some involve an ideation phase, an execution phase, a management phase. Some are purely management, and some are purely execution. So I think it also depends on what stage of your career you're in. If you're joining straight out of school, if you've done an MBA, if you're a slightly more experienced technical person. So it sort of depends on all of those things. For your second question, I think the skills for a product manager, at least in the traditional sense, what people think of as a product manager, you need to have a vision. You need to know the people you're working with very, very well. Your engineers, your designers, just everyone in your team. You need to have a very, very good relationship with them. Because I think oftentimes what I see, whether it be in my firm or other firms, is that there is a vision which is very good, but it doesn't align properly across different verticals within the company itself. So that coordination and that sort of understanding has to be there. And that's a people skill, right? That's not something that you can read in a book. That's something that you have to build over time, working at your firm or talking to people. So I think people skills and people management skills is something that I would highly focus on.